Hello, friends. Welcome. Because I didn't even think about broadcasting, but now that I'm getting started, wait a minute. I could actually broadcast here today. So I am in a private home. I'm in their basement. I'm in a man's office, and I'm painting on his wall with his permission. And I got to thinking, you know what, this really would be a good thing to broadcast because doggone it, if this right here isn't emblematic, good representation of what it's like to be a working artist, I don't know what is. Um, most people don't know an artist. They don't know what an artist does, and when they finally meet one, they go many times, "Well, golly, you could do this and that and this and that." I'm talking quietly because there are people upstairs, of course. Um, I'll show you. So anyway, the assignment is this is a real porthole, like on a ship, right? And my friend Jerry, whose office this is, wants me to do the outside of a ship as if we were looking at the outside of an old ship. He was thinking steel. I recommend, well, how about a little bit more interesting? How about wood? So you know that. Let me take just a second to snoop here. I want to show you the painting I did for Jerry about 3 weeks ago. It's some of you, perhaps. Do you remember that? Some of you regulars? That's 30 by 42 or something like that. So I did that for Jerry a couple weeks ago, and he liked it. And they said, "Hey, I'd like you to come and do a painting on my wall." I didn't really know what he meant until I got here. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. So I'm not going to broadcast this whole process, of course. But, I did think about something while I was painting. I've decided to start, instead of painting the whole thing a uniform, gray-brown, and then paint details on top of it, I think it's going to work better if I actually go the other way around. Do the wood grain and the cracks between the boards first, and then do the washes of color, transparent, translucent, on top of it. Now, this particular thing, I've finished all the boards, but let me tell you one thing. If you ever have to do something like this, one of the key secrets to making it look like cracks between boards is that you don't allow both sides of this line to be parallel. In other words, if the bottom of this line, so you see the top has a bulge in it. I added that after the fact. If the bottom of the line also had a bulge in it, then it would be obvious the person took a brush and the brush went like that. And I've done the same thing here, although here I made sure that the bulge went both directions. If you didn't do that, it wouldn't look like cracks between boards. It would look like a brush stroke. So just a real simple little trick of the trade there. Finished with those nice brushes. Now let's go to some good chip brushes. ratty old chip brushes. My favorite brush. Okay, and I'm trying to think here. Wood grain. By the way, I did look up on my phone. I Googled porthole in wooden ship, and I'm happy that, yes, I found several good samples. So what I'm doing now, and I hope you can see that well enough, what I'm doing now is modeling. Actually, this would be closely related to faux painting, F-A-U-X, right? Some of you've done it, or perhaps you've heard of it. That's the art of creating, fake artificial textures, in this case, wood on a wall. This is also what I'm doing right now. Very close. So you see there's a wood grain. Let me let you see that up close just for a second. Again, I'm not going to broadcast this whole process. But there's my first application. I will come back. I'll add some little knots to these, and I'll accent some of these grain lines, make them stronger. But just for starters, that looks quite a bit like wood. Again, so the set design, the art of set design. Okay, so this board, see, the wood grain has to continue. It can't, it doesn't, I don't know how to explain this. It goes, the grain on this board goes this way. I would never want it to go this way and then come back that way. So this side of the porthole, the grain has to continue in the same trajectory, if that makes sense. I haven't talked, I don't think probably at all, and since I started my daily art adventures, coming up on 2 years ago now, I've got a couple broadcasts of set design that I did before my daily art adventures. You can go back, you could Google Dan Nelson set design. I've got some real cute little videos, production pieces that I actually edited, not live, but edited. So I haven't talked about it, which is I'm glad I can talk about it today. I love set design. Anybody out there that needs a professional set designer, give me a call. I just love it. It's one of the most fun things I've ever done. It's set design is essentially trompe l'oeil, or that means fool the eye. It's essentially, now that board goes that way, so I want this board to go, no, this way. I want this board to go this way. It's essentially hyper-realistic painting on a big scale. Is that a good description of set design? Super realism, writ large, shall we say? And we shall say. You're seeing, of course, this is just one way to do wood grain, of course, but it's better than the way most people do it. Most people, when they try to do wood grain, they do little short strokes. And indeed, there are kinds of wood in the world that have short, choppy grain. But it's very hard to emulate. Very much easier to emulate or imitate long grain wood. So as you can see, the secret is just do continuous long strokes. Anyway, set design. Some of the funnest projects I've ever worked on in my life have been designing sets. I'll try not to get into any old glory stories, but there have been several, and you can find some of them on my YouTube channel. Because it's just so fun doing super realism. big. Now this does not qualify as big. I mean, as big as a stage is what I mean. I designed I should have kept a piece of it. I designed a log cabin one time for Burning Oak Studios. If you go to Burning Oak Studios and watch some of their watercolor videos, you'll see my log cabin. And I promised my client, he paid me to design a set, and I said, I'll design you a log cabin that you can come up and stare at it for all your work. You can get 1 foot away from it and stare at it, and you would swear you're looking at a real log cabin. It won't be till you touch it that you'll discover it's not real wood. That was my promise, and I know I'm bragging, I'm showing off now. But I did it. It was so much fun. Just tricks. You learn tricks. Set design is all about tricks, like the tricks I'm doing right here, like how to indicate wood. How do you give the impression of wood grain? By the way, the log cabin was not made like this. It was 3-dimensional. It looked like wood. It wasn't just painted. It was plaster with a wood grain. Anyway, one of my observations, however, if any of you, any young people perhaps watching this, I do not recommend going into set design for a career, just because the odds of making it, it's sort of like the odds of making it as a comic book artist or as a video game designer. I mean, the competition is so ridiculous that many people in the world of set design work for nearly nothing because, like me, they enjoy it so much. They have virtually run the industry into the ground. I'm gonna make this one down here. It's gonna have one seam. I think is appropriate. Can you see what I'm doing there? Okay, let me point this to you. I'm sorry, I'm off the screen. Let me point this to you. Okay, so that was done with one stroke, right? And that does not at all look like, it does not at all look like a crack between two boards. And there's one very simple reason for that, is because the line is, the two sides of that line are essentially parallel to each other. Like look down here. See, when it jogs, when this side jogs to the right, this side also jogs to the right. So that ruins the illusion. So you almost always have to do a crack between boards. You have to do it twice. And make sure that the inside and the outside of this line are not parallel to each other. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, now it looks a little bit more like a crack between boards. By the way, since I've got, this is the kind of thing I'm going to do. Let me go ahead and do some. For instance, up here at my very first board, I have to be quite careful that I follow the grain. And then, whoops, sorry. I'm looking at what I'm doing, of course, instead of looking at my screen, which is what I should be doing. And then a few, wormholes. Let me do another one over here, left-handed. So you know the way old wood does when it dries out and it gets beat up and stuff. It develops cracks in the wood grain. Oh, whoops! I'm gonna have to clean that up a little bit. But it'll be things like that. And again, wormholes. Now, what I'm going to do next, I guess I'll keep painting and we'll see, as long as I think of interesting things to say, I'll keep broadcasting. Another thing you have to watch out for, again, to keep illusion, is you have to make sure you don't do weird and funky things here at the end. You know, you can't let your stroke get either lighter or heavier to telegraph to the viewer that you are coming to the wall. Which in fact you are coming to the wall. You just don't want the viewer to look for it to look that way, because the goal here is for it not to look like paint, but to look like wood, old weathered wood. Okay, so I was going to tell you, after I finish doing dark green down here, I'm sorry you can't see me. I don't know if that can be fixed or not. Let me try it real quickly. I'm working without a tripod here today. So you're just sitting on a shelf. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to start on this one by roughing in a knot hole, and then making sure that my wood grain goes around that knot hole, just the way grain really does. Cool, huh? Okay, so again, so I keep interrupting myself. The next thing we're going to do is various shades of brown and gray on top of this faux wood grain. And then the last thing I'll do will be light highlights, light accents on top of the glaze. And we'll see, I'll probably do wood grain like this twice now at the beginning. Then I'm going to cast the whole thing, and then this will be less visible. And then I'll probably find myself wanting to do it again a third time. And I did not bring any. Yes, I did. It's out in the car. Okay, so I'm gonna have to stop broadcasting right here. And sorry, if I find myself doing something really fascinating, I'll start a second broadcast, or part B today, but only if I find it really interesting. I need to run up to my car and get a bottle of medium, acrylic medium, because if I do this glaze with water, it'll be so thin that it'll just run down, in fact, run onto the floor. Okay, oops, spider down there on the floor. Sorry, buddy. So I have to use glaze to get this as transparent as I want it and not just run off. So maybe I'll be back again today. Thanks, guys, for watching. Appreciate it. If you like this, please click like, and please tell your artistic friends about it. Thanks, bye.